Welcome back, Truth Seeker. April 25th, 2019, the 115th day of the year. Starting the presentation early today because I got invited to do something on a Pasadena local TV network. They need me to be available at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So apologies for the early start, but we will get all the information out like regular. Just want to make sure we have enough time to finish. And I'm going to say this multiple times throughout the broadcast, but please pay attention to the baseball scores today, the 115th day of the year, April 25th, because it's the 115th World Series upcoming. And did you notice yesterday, the 114th day of the year, the defending champions who just won the 114th World Series won 11-4? We were wondering about that game. Could Boston get to 4-5 like Major League's 45 in their respective stat? So today, the 115th day of the year, could get a very good clue for the 115th World Series. And this is the beauty of having this knowledge. You know, by the end of the day, it's very possible that we know what this World Series is. So pay attention to what teams are playing today, which ones aren't. Very likely the teams destined for the big game are going today. So one thing that stood out to me when I was scanning this is I noticed the Brewers weren't playing. I thought that was interesting because they're one of the teams that have a shot in the National League. The Phillies are, though. Phillies got that 115 connection. So watch the scores today. And just want to point out that the riddle with the Mets yesterday, the Mets did make the Phillies 5-7. That was the initial instinct before the series began. The Mets had the better riddle for the first two games. They won them. The series did end at 5-7. Again, like I've explained, 57, this huge number with the Mets that just comes up again and again and again. So just remember that, 57 in Mets. Yesterday when we looked at this, I still said, well, because the riddles have been so off, I'd still wait and see. We saw that the Mets played Milwaukee next, and Milwaukee's 53, so anyhow, Mets in 57. That's one of those riddles you can etch in stone. It just hits again and again and again. Mets equals 57. New York Mets 57. New York City 57. It's a big old World Series number, too. Of course, the Mets represented in the 111th World Series, the 111 special, New York 111. But anyway, the point is, baseball is still absolutely rigged by the code. It's just that some of the riddles for more than a week haven't been adding up. So we're putting it on the back burner. We'll definitely come back to it. Still scripted the same way. They're not changing anything. It's just the riddles are off for this early part of the year. And it started off fine. I mean, the opening weeks of baseball were fine, but then all of a sudden, everything went sideways. So, caller yesterday, he said, what about these teams becoming 11-14? Because that kind of looks like 114. Well, that is what happened. That is what happened. But this was the biggest takeaway right here. We thought the Red Sox, the 4-5 was making sense. But to win 11-4 on the 114th day of the year after winning the 114th World Series, that's the stuff I'm talking about. So I said, this will be interesting. This will be interesting. Cubs did become 7-3. Remember, Chicago and Los Angeles, both 37 in reverse. So we got to read it forwards and backwards. The Twins are 8-5 away. We've seen a number of 85 riddles with the Twins. It hasn't hit every time, but Twins does equal 85. So they're 8-5 away. So we'll get back on the baseball, just kind of observing things. Okay, let's go over the playoffs yesterday. So my advice wasn't bad for yesterday. It was mostly a rest day, but if you're going to bet, be conservative and take the Jazz to cover, which they did, and take the Hurricanes to cover, and the Hurricanes did advance. Where's the game? Whoops. The biggest clue, again, in that Hurricanes game, we said the Hurricanes had the better numbers riddle. The one scare with the Capitals was if the Capitals advanced, they'd be facing their coach from last year who they won the championship with. And, sports loves riddles like that. but we saw that the Capitals could finish their season at 135 wins in the playoffs. And again, Capitals is 135, Capital One Arena is 135, and Carolina Hurricanes is 135. And in back-to-back nights in Game 7s, we see the two teams eliminated who played in last year's Stanley Cup Finals. So that was a riddle. And we saw the riddles broken in both series. In the Sharks series, whoever scored the first goal won the first 6 games. That riddle was broken in Game 7. In this series with the Hurricanes and Capitals, the home team won the first 6 games. That riddle was broken in Game 7 with the visiting Hurricanes winning. So, and the score was 4-3. We talked about that, right? DC 4-3. The Capitals won it last year in their 43rd season. So Hurricanes to cover was the smart choice. The other thing we saw going with the Hurricanes to cover was that all the money in Vegas was on the Capitals. Overwhelmingly, over 90%. So that's why we were saying, well, hard to imagine the Capitals beating the spread with the way that's laid out. So even if the Hurricanes losing by a goal seems destined. So that was that. NBA. The Rockets did advance. And again, this riddle was tight, but once again, all the money was on the Rockets in Vegas. It was 96% to 4%. So we said if the Rockets are going to advance, take the Jazz to cover. They did by a point. So often the spread is right there. You know, the spread was plus 8.5 when we started yesterday. It was plus 8 for the Rockets. Jazz lose by 7, so Jazz cover. And Vegas wins big. This game was tight because the Jazz could have become 22-22 away on the 22 date, and we saw how the numbers would have lined up for a Game 6. The Rockets had a good riddle if it went to Game 6 to win it and close it out there. But I was hoping the Rockets would win last night so that D'Antoni would stay at 45 losses in the playoffs. Again, Jazz equals 45 because that sets him up for his 49th loss in the next round against the Warriors, working on the assumption that the Warriors are going to be there. Now, I was doing my radio show last night, so I didn't see much of the Warriors-Clippers game, but when I got off, I turned it on, and there was maybe 6 minutes left in the game. And as soon as I started watching, I forget, I think the Warriors were down by 6 or 8 points. I started watching. They took a 1-point lead. They took a 1-point lead at 118 points. It was 118-117 on a Durant dunk. And I said, there's that 118. Clippers equals 118. Los Angeles, California, 118 on the 118th meridian. We know how important 118 is to the Bay Area. But then I think the next trip down the court, Clippers ball handler dribbled it off Iguodala's foot, who didn't try to kickball at all. It was just he dribbled it off his foot, and Iguodala stole the ball, and then the ref blew the whistle and said it was a kickball, and I laughed. I used to officiate basketball. I mean, I don't think there's a ref in the world that's bad enough to make that call. No one would ever call that a kickball. His feet planted on the floor, doesn't lift him off the ground. The basketball player dribbles it off his foot and loses the ball, and he calls a kickball. Unreal. I don't think you could find any ref in the world, even if it's his first day of reffing the YMCA, who would call that a kickball. It just shows you what a joke the NBA is. And then from there, I just watched. It reminded me, I mean, just the NBA refs, they just control every game. So Clippers player, he did block the ball, but he also smashed the Warriors player in the face with his block. I mean, total foul, no call. He couldn't even breathe on the Clippers at the end. So it was just obvious that the Warriors weren't meant to win the game. But of course, they lost with their symbolic 121 points. How many times over the last 4 years have I said, watch for the Warriors to finish their games with 121 points? Warriors 121. Anyway, when the Clippers won this game, which did surprise me, I said this would be the surprise of the day, that there was a riddle there. They got their 93rd win against the Warriors. Oracle Arena's 93. We saw that Steve Kerr could get his 22nd loss on the 22-date numerology. He did, but he could have got his 67th win on the 67 date as well. But again, just going 4-1 is what I expected. Golden State 41, Oakland 41, LA 41. This game was 41 days after Steph Curry's birthday. So I am a little bit surprised, but when the Clippers won, what I started to think about, again, is something we've talked about. The day Nipsey Hussle died in Los Angeles and what the Warriors did that day in the NBA. March 31st, they won 137-90. Here, I can just go back here and show you the game real quick. So here it is right here. This is the Nipsey Hussle died in L.A. The Warriors were playing Steph Curry's hometown, Charlotte, where his father used to play. And they won 137-90. Now remember, Nipsey Hussle died 137 days from his birthday, the 33rd prime. He died at 33. He died on the 90th day of the year. This game was on the 90th day of the year. And his death had a lot to do with 211, the 47th prime. The Warriors won by 47 points in their 47th season in Oakland. So we said, that seems to be some sort of riddle with Nipsey. So now that the Warriors are playing the Clippers, I'm thinking, okay, this is the series. This must be the riddle. There must be something to this. So the game 6 is in LA, and I'm going to have to look at this real hard, but just right now I'm thinking, man, the Clippers might actually win this game. It's possible that the Clippers win this game too, because that would set up game 7 on the 118th day of the year. And I'll look more at that game 6, but just knowing that 118 is another number that connects both of these cities, and seeing the Warriors take the 118-point lead last night, we'll do some more work on this. But these are just the initial thoughts. I'm not worried about the Warriors, unless they get eliminated in the first round, then obviously. But the way the Rockets' losses set up right now with D'Antoni, I think it is still a good sign the Warriors will give D'Antoni his 49th playoff loss, regardless of what happens in this series. So anyway, I can't be mad about my advice. I know some of you had money on the Warriors winning 4-1, and I was really hoping that would come through for you. But last night, the advice wasn't bad. Jazz to cover, Carolina to cover. I said I'd lay off the Warriors game for last night. They were a huge favorite, and Clippers had a little bit of a riddle to make it worth the risk of betting on. So, and I couldn't say take the Clippers with the under because, I mean, they did have a narrative, but like I said, it'd be the surprise of the day if they won. So anyhow, let's do today's games. Well, we only got 1 in the NBA and 2 in the NHL. Now, we've kind of already done today's game. Recall, we had the Nuggets winning the last game because of how it set up this game 6 for the Spurs. So we can go over it again just in case you forget. But things are looking good for the Spurs tonight. And it's all right here. So pull up the series records real quick. Denver, 64-103 in the playoffs right now. And San Antonio, 221-181. Oh, I forgot to update I can fix this later. I forgot to I just forgot to update the numbers here. I guess it just takes a second. I got the wrong numbers. Whoops, my fault. It's the 25th. Let me make sure that's all right so I'm not confusing you. It's April 25th. Okay. So the date numerology today, 68-41. Remember, San Antonio's 41 and 23. Those are the numbers that really matter. 41's the 13th prime. 23 is the 9th prime. 68, big basketball number. Basketball, 68. It's the 25th of the month. 97's the 25th prime number. Anyhow, the big clue is in these teams head-to-head. Let me get the Spurs up here. The San Antonio Spurs versus the Denver Nuggets. So they're 140-78 against the Nuggets all time. And at home, they're 88-23. They can stay at 23 losses on this 23 date. That's one clue. They can also get their 23rd win in the playoffs against the Nuggets on this 23 date. And notice that would make them 23-9. 23 is the 9th prime number. So you get that prime number relationship. 23, the 9th prime. And For the away stats, the Nuggets went 1-1 in San Antonio the first 2 games. So this isn't updating. It's just showing the regular season. So the Nuggets are 21-22 away for the season. That means they can get their 23rd away loss today. And that would even the series at 3-3. Both of these teams have 33 Gematria. Spurs is 33. Nuggets is 33. Game 6, if you write out game 6, it even equals 33. Not that all game 6s go to 3-3, but you can believe in it here because the overlap, Nuggets and Spurs, 33. So San Antonio's a 3-point favorite. You might want to look at how the money is in Vegas to decide if you want to go balls to the wall and bet on them to cover, or if you want to just bet on the money line and avoid getting beat on the spread. Again, that's always my advice. I always think it's better to play it conservative, suck to have the right team, and get beat on the spread. You know, just ask the people in Vegas who bet on Houston yesterday and lost by a point. The Spurs' next win of the season will also be their 51st. So here's our base ciphers. And again, what we're doing each day is we're adding the exceptions, the master numerology values for the reduction ciphers. If you do that for Nuggets, Nuggets also carries that Gematria 51. So Nuggets or the Spurs can pick up their 51st win of the season over the Nuggets. We'll have to look real hard at game 7, assuming it goes there. But I think things do look very good for the Spurs tonight. Let's also just look at the coaches. Last game, we got a big clue with Popovich picking up his 113th loss on the 113th day of the year. I don't think we're going to get anything quite that good tonight. So Mike Malone for his career is 3-2 in the playoffs. First year in the playoffs here. And that would make him 176 and 157 all time, regular season and playoffs. That's with Denver. Guess all time he's 215 and 224. So, but the numbers are definitely there for San Antonio tonight. You have the 23 date, and you got the 23 hitting in 3 ways. The away losses for the Nuggets, the playoff wins for the Spurs, getting their 23rd win against the Nuggets, and staying at 23 home losses. So I do got to say, I like the Spurs. And we'll pull up Greg Popovich's stats real quick, but obviously his next playoff loss is going to be his 114th. Today's the 115th day of the year. Let me try that again. He's had 169 career playoff wins. So I do think the Spurs are a good pick in the NBA. And that game 7 is April 27th. So just to think about the game 7 real quick, it'll be a date with 25 numerology, 43, and 70. 25, 43, 70. The lesser method will be 50. So the riddle for the Spurs would be to stay at 25 away losses, potentially on the 25 date. But staying on a number is never as strong. But whoever wins this series plays the Blazers. And remember, the Blazers won at 4-1, where San Antonio is the city with the 41 connection. So we'll look at that game more carefully, assuming it gets here. But there would be one riddle there up on the board for the Spurs to stay on 25 away losses on the 25 date. Okay. All right. So NHL, we got 2 new series starting tonight. And let me see. All right. So we're going to look at that. Hopefully we can get some good, clear reads here. Somebody pointed out to me that the meaning of Blue Jackets. I'll just show this to you real quick. I didn't know what Blue Jackets meant until somebody told me this. The Blue Jackets name was selected because the name pays homage to Ohio's contributions to American history and the great pride and patriotism exhibited by its citizens, especially during the Civil War, as both the state of Ohio and the city of Columbus. So the Patriot thing is interesting to me because Patriots equals 118. And like I said, before the playoffs even started, there was a guy who put down a decent bet on the Blue Jackets to win the championship because he saw he was tying it in with the Patriots riddle. Speaking of which, with let me see, is this a possible matchup? We're on the drawing board right now for this. Okay, well, that's very interesting because the Bruins and Columbus are playing each other, right? So, I don't know who's going to win this series, honestly. We just saw Julian Edelman chug the beer from the Patriots, and the Bruins got their 53rd win of the season in that game, like the Patriots just won Super Bowl 53, and now they're facing the team that essentially means Patriots. So we're going to do it game by game, but I'm thinking the best route here for the rest of the NHL playoffs is just do what we do game by game where we get our good riddles, win, because there's only there's 2 101 teams left on each side too, the Sharks and the Islanders, but man, with this Bruins riddle floating and also the Blue Jackets riddle, I mean, it's tough. And the thing is, the difference between, I don't know hockey as well. I don't know the players. I don't know the history. So it's hard to pick up on the big clues throughout the season that are foreshadowing. It's the missing piece with hockey. But we can still pick it up game by game like we've been doing. So I just want to make sure everybody knows about the name of the Blue Jackets and how it has to do with Patriots. And now they're playing the Patriots. So. Well, they're not playing the Patriots, but they're playing the team that's in the city with the Patriots. Okay, so let's see if we can figure this out here. NHL teams, series records. Columbus swept their series. Remember, they swept Tampa Bay. And the Bruins went to Game 7 with Toronto. So technically, the Columbus team's rested up. But sometimes when a team sits out too long, they lose their momentum. That's another narrative. So Columbus is 9-16 in the playoffs. This is going to be their 26th playoff game. That's a magic number, 26. The word game itself is 26. Okay, 26. We're going to be playing on the road because Boston has the most points from the regular season out of any remaining team. The top seed's knocked out. And the Boston Bruins, 310, 318, and 7. So their next win is the 311th. That's the 64th prime number. '64th. Columbus. Remember, Columbus advanced on the 106th day of the year, April 16th. That was the day they swept Tampa Bay. Blue Jackets. They got that 118 connection like Patriots. 118, Patriots, 118. Blue Jackets. Why didn't I think of that before in the Boston-Toronto series? So Boston's at 53 wins right now. Boston's at 53 wins. They got their 53rd win to face the Columbus Blue Jackets. Okay. So that's another parallel between this team and the Patriots. Patriots is 53 also. I don't see anything in the name really going with today's date. Nothing with the numbers. Bruins. Bruins is 83, the 23rd prime. We do have a 23 day. Bruins. Let's look again. All right, let's think about it. So if the Bruins lost the series, they would get their 322nd playoff loss. If they won the series, they'd get their 314th win. And let's see. This Ohio. And then for Columbus, if they won the series, they'd get their 13th win. If they lost, they'd get their 20th loss. So I think that what we should do here, hold on, I'm going to make a note here. Let's go through and look at each day of the series. So, and see if we can map it out and go, okay, it would make sense to get this win or this loss on this date. We might be able to figure out the whole series or come close. All right, so they play the 25th, the 27th, the 30th, the 2nd, the 4th, game 5, the 6th, and the 8th. All right. So I'll just do this on the screen so we can save the note. And so you guys can just, I assume you know how to do this, but just in case you need to practice, you know, just write out the date. So 4/25/2019. So again, the methods 4 plus 25 plus 2019. Today has the 68 date. The next method is the life lesson number, where you add the day plus the month, 4 plus 25, and then plus the year in parts, plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9. So that's 41. Then each number just digit for the day. 12, 17, 23, and then the lesser method. Okay, so that's game 1. Game 2 is April 27th, and I won't bore you and write it all the way out again. So 27 is going to be plus 2, right? So it's going to be a date with 70, 43, 25, and 50. And then we got May 2nd, so I'm just going to do it so I don't screw up. 5/2/2019, 39. So that'll be 46. And you have less methods because anytime you're in the single digit days of the month, there's one less numerology method because it doesn't make a difference. Really, to the double digit days. 46/19, chaos day. And then the lesser method's 5/2/19. Now I remember we talked about that they're going to play their 26th playoff game today. So May 2nd, the date numerology would be like that. And then I should have wrote here April 27th. May 4th equals, it would be plus 2. So it would be 48, 21, 28. And then May 6th would be 50, 23, 30. And then May 8th would be 52, 25-32. So 115th day of the year, 117th day of the year. Oh, I forgot to do April 30th. Hold on. We need one more day in there. It's like, wait a minute, why is there such a big gap? So April 30th, I got to think about that for a second because that date's going to be a little bit different. It would be 71 and it would be 46. And it would be 7. And then it would actually be 19. It drops down to 4 plus 3 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9. It would be 53. So this is an interesting game, that 53, because Boston's carrying the Patriots riddle, and Columbus seems to be tied in with it. I don't know how I didn't see that sooner. It's making me mad. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all right. So now we have to think about the playoff records, and we also have to think about the home and away records. So let me see. We know that the Blue Jackets swept, so that's easy. Bruins, Maple Leafs, 2019 playoff series. I just want to go back and see what make sure I got what their home and away record would have been. Wait, no. Okay, let's do it this way instead. Oh, I'm in the future, that's why. All right. So Boston won that one at home. What's up, man?
Good morning, Zach. Hey, so the Jackets finished with 47 regular season wins.
Right.
Well, okay, so if they win the Cup, plus 16 is 63, and Columbus Wild equals 63.
Yeah, that's a good observation, and that's like kind of like how Tom Brady went 6-3.
Oh, that is true. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I was just following your live stream earlier, and I was like, wait a minute. Let's see the regular season plus the postseason, see if we get anything out of this. So, and then we see a 54 here. So perhaps the Bruins win one game in the series. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, that is a good thought, though. That's a really good observation about the 63. So.
All right, Zach. So we'll see what's going on.
All right, appreciate it.
All right.
Okay. All right, so I'm thinking about the all right, so the Bruins won 1 at home, 1 away. So 1 away. Hold on, I lost my train of thought. Oh, they lost that. All right, so they lost that one at home. I just need to. I'm getting confused. Hold on. Let me go back to the beginning of the series. Just game 1. I got to make sure I have all the information correct here so we're not screwing up. All right. That's the regular season playoff start. 11. So they played their first game on the 101st day of the year. Okay. Home, away, home, away, home. Okay. So they lost game one. We had that one peg right. The Maple Leafs in the 101st season won on the 101st day of the year. Okay. And then they came back and won. And then Maple Leafs won, so they lost. And they evened it up. They were splitting. And then they lost and went down in the series, and then they came back and won the last two. Okay. So for the series, they were 2-2 at home, and away they were 2-1 away. So they actually did better away than at home. Okay. All right. And Columbus is easy because they swept. Okay, so now we're going to see if we can map out this whole series, see if we can nail it. Okay, so right now for the season, Boston is at, all right, so they're at 53 wins, we know that, and they're at 27 losses. They're 53-27 for the whole season. And at home, they're 31-11. 31-11 at home. And away, they are 22-16. We don't need to worry about the ties. Okay. 31-11, 22-16. The next home win is 32. Boston equals 31 and 32. Okay. So, and then Columbus, they should be, how many losses did they have this year? So they are 51-31, which is interesting because both teams are sitting at 31 total losses on the year. And again, Boston's 31-32. Okay. And Chris just pointed out that Columbus, Ohio has this gematria of 63, which reminds of how Tom Brady went 6-3 in Super Bowls. And Blue Jackets means Patriots. And Columbus Blue Jackets is 118 like Patriots is 118. We've seen two teams win the championship this year with the 118 connection. Columbus Blue Jackets and Virginia Cavaliers. Okay. Columbus, Ohio also carries that 54, and Boston's next win is 54. So first two games are going to be in Boston, though. If the Bruins opened up the series winning both, they'd be at 55 wins. Boston, Massachusetts is 55. Okay, let's go through our dates here. Wait, I forgot to write their home and away record for Columbus. Columbus home and away record. So all right, Columbus 51, 31, and home and away. They're 24-17 at home. and away. What's up, man?
Zach, if the Jackets win the cup, I think they go through all the one-on-one connections remaining, the Islanders and the Sharks in the cup finals.
That's possible. That's possible.
You know, another thing is, this reminds me. I mean, I think we agree that Golden State, whether they win or lose, they're done. The dynasty's finished. The Patriot dynasty is finished. So this kind of reminds me of the Cavaliers versus the Warriors when they're down 3-1 and they won. Why not have? It's kind of like Ohio versus the Bay Area all over again with the Sharks, no? In a way.
San Jose versus Columbus.
Yeah, like Ohio versus California, and you get the best of both worlds. You get the NFL with regards to California, and then you would get the NBA with regards to California. Ohio again.
It's a thought. Yeah, I'll think more about that. It's a thought. Could be.
Yeah, so just wanted to bring that up.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, Zach.
Okay, so Columbus for the season right now they're 51 and 31. We're not talking about the ties. We're just going to look at the wins and losses because that's all that matters in the playoffs. And then at home they're 24 and 17, and away they're 27 and 14 because they just swept. So they added +2 for this home and away stats because this isn't keeping up with the playoffs. We have to look at the ongoing stats. And then Boston right now is 53 and 27, win and loss. Home, they're 31 and 11. They picked up 2 losses at home in the series. And away, they're 22 and 16. 22 and 16. So they only lost 1 away game in the Toronto series. Okay. NHL standings. Let's see. All right. Or that's not what I want on the scores. Okay. So all right. So today's date numerology again. Today's date numerology 68, 41, 23. And let me see. 68, 41, 23. It doesn't look like that's going to go with anyone's record today. So we don't have a numerology read for the game, but maybe looking ahead, we can figure out what would line up for the next game if we think about it here. So the next game's Saturday, right? Saturday. So the 27th has 70, 43, 25, 50. And that game's going to be at home. That's not going to line up though either. It's not going to line up. And then what about the playoff stats? What about the playoff stats here again? Bruins, Columbus, 9, 16. Do we have a 17 upcoming? Okay. All right, let's look at the head-to-head again. Boston Bruins series records. Columbus Blue Jackets. 18-12 all time. This is going to be the 31st game. Again, Boston has that 31 connection. Columbus is at 31 losses on the season. And Boston's at 31 home wins on the season. So 31st game. That number connects to Boston. I don't believe it connects to the Blue Jackets. Columbus. Okay. So we did have a 19 date upcoming, didn't we? Where was that at? So April 30th has this 19 date numerology. If Columbus came out and beat Boston the first two games, they'd be in trouble. They'd be down 0-2 after their first two games at home. If that happened, it could make sense, though, because they could get their 19th win against Columbus in the first game back in Columbus. And they'd be playing for their playoff lives in that game. Nobody wants to go down 0-3. That game 4 or is also a date with 19 numerology. All right, at home they're 9-5. You know what's funny? So look at this. If Boston did lose their first two games at home to Columbus, they would become 9-7 at home, right? 9-7. That's kind of like 97, the 25th prime number. And that would happen on April 27th, which is a date with 25 numerology. 25 numerology right there. They could become 9-7 at home if they drop their first two. Okay. And then away they're 9-7. I think Blue Jackets is 107. That would be game 3. Let me check here. I think Blue Jackets is 107. So 107, 28th prime. And they could get their 19th win against the Blue Jackets all time right there. It's also a date with 71 numerology. Blue Jackets is 71. Sometimes that'd be a date where I say they fall on their number. 46 date, Blue Jackets 46. So that actually lines up pretty well if that is the way it goes. If Boston drops the first two at home and wins the first one back in Columbus, it would be following the date perfectly. They would come into this game right here on 19 wins. This next game's a date with numerology at 19 as well. So you get 2 games in a row with the 19 date. They could potentially go down 3-1 in that game. Boston's 31. So Columbus. Columbus wins the first two. They're 53 and 31 on the season. Columbus Blue Jackets 53, Boston 31. They'd have 29 away wins. Bruins 29. They'd be 29 and 14 away. That's actually an interesting record if they did win the first two, because Bruins is 29 and 43 in our most pure reduction ciphers. 43 is the 14th prime. They'd be 29 and 14 away. We're going to look at the coaches here in a second too. Check a few more things. Boston, Bruins, Columbus. What's up, caller?
Hi, Zach. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I saw an article last night on my homepage for the La Nina, which is a replica of Columbus's boat, one of his boats in Texas that sank yesterday.
Huh.
Columbus sailing ship replica La Nina sinks again in Texas. I just wanted to let you know because I know you're covering Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, great tip.
I'm sorry I don't have any numbers worked out for it. I just remember when I heard you saying Columbus, because I'm not familiar with the newer hockey teams. I used to watch hockey years ago.
Sure.
But I just wanted to let you know I saw that article last night.
Yeah, great heads up.
It was after your decoding yesterday, so I saw it right around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so it was fresh. Okay?
I really appreciate it. Great heads up.
No
Thank you.
problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So here's what stands out about this story. So yesterday had 67 date numerology. Hockey equals 67. It also had 47 date numerology. Columbus equals 47. 114th day of the year. What town did this happen in? Or Corpus Christi, huh? Corpus Christi, Christopher Columbus, CC. Let's see here. I guess I'll start with La Nina. So La Nina is 51. That's very interesting because Columbus is at 51 wins coming into the series. Boston Bruins is 51. Man, I missed some low-hanging fruit. How did I not think about this? Okay, 51. So this is very interesting. Columbus at 51 wins. Boston Bruins 51. La Nina 51. What could this mean? Corpus Christi, Texas. 3, 239, the 52nd prime. Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi is 83 like Bruins. 101, the 26th prime. Hurricane Harvey was connected to the if you weren't here then, we called the Astros beating the Dodgers as soon as Hurricane Harvey was done. We already had a hunch for the both of those teams, but once that happened, it was a done deal. So okay. $75 foot. So the sinking was actually on the 113th day of the year. Old 113. And didn't I just see that Corpus Christi's 113? Or was it Texas? Corpus Christi, Texas, 113. Funny. Okay. Columbus Blue Jackets. They're in their 18th season. I just want to put this back up here. They're in their 18th season. Boston Bruins. 94th season. The one thing I could say about the Bruins being in their 94th season, it's how many rushing yards Sony Michel had in the Super Bowl. Sony Michel's name equals 94. But when you write out 94, it equals 147. And if we're right, the Stanley Cup is going to begin on the 147th day of the year. 94 has that 57 connection, has the 51 connection. And the ship's sinking. Man, it doesn't seem like that would be positive symbolism for the Blue Jackets, does it? It doesn't. Because I could make sense of either team winning this series in terms of the symbolism. Again, we know the Bruins, if they win the Stanley Cup, they'll get their 322nd win. But it is very interesting that La Nina equals 51. Man, that date numerology pattern, though, made a lot of sense if the Blue Jackets came out and won the first 2 games. So let me look at this again one more time, make sure I'm not overlooking something. Oh, you know what, you guys? I think earlier I got dyslexic and read backwards. I screwed up, you guys. My fault. I read backwards. I read backwards with the riddle. I read Columbus's home record is Boston's. Hold on. Everything I said earlier was screwed up. Because, yeah, I read that all wrong. All right, hold on. Hold on. My fault. I said the wrong thing. Okay. No, wait, maybe I didn't. Hold on. I think I lost my train of thought. I got to make sure I'm on course here. Okay, that's what I was. Okay, never mind. That's what I was saying. If it's possible that the Columbus started off 2-0, if they won the first 2 in Boston, it would set it up that Boston could get its 19th win against Columbus on that 19 date numerology. So that's right. But how would that look? That means Boston would become 31-13 at home. And numbers that are reflections of each other. The next home game would be right here for Boston. (31-13). Boston's a big old favorite tonight. Of course, Tampa Bay was a big old favorite through that whole series against the Blue Jackets. I think every single game. Could make sense for Columbus to pick up a loss in Boston just because Boston's 32. Well, we'll look at how the money is on this game and see if that lines up with our thinking. Personally, I think I might wait and see what happens the first game. That La Nina story kind of scares me a little bit. I'm really glad she called in and said that could end up being a lifesaver. But it definitely seems like it's synced up with the hockey season. If the Blue Jackets win tonight, I think that riddle's going to hit. I think the Blue Jackets will win the first two in Boston, and then Boston take game 3, because that would all line up perfect with the dates. So they would be 9-7 at home on this 25 date, 97 the 25th prime. And then they could get that 19th win against Columbus on the 19 date. So it is possible that it starts that way. But man, ship sinking. What's the word sink equal? Sink is 53 like Columbus Blue Jackets. Caller from Columbia, what's up?
Hey, Zach. Yesterday it was an interesting thing with the Capitals goalie, Braden Holtby.
Okay.
His birthday was, I think, 145 days in a span of 146. But it was 145 that he got his 20th loss. And I'm seeing Sergey for the Blue Jackets, he can get his 38th win against Bruins, which is 38. So I think the goalies really matter, because yesterday I was thinking like the span 146, they could have stayed on 146, but it was actually the 145 that he got his 20th loss.
Well, remember from Ovechkin, it was 146 days to his birthday, or a span of 147, and they picked up their 147th playoff loss.
Yeah, that's why the span, I didn't really trust it, because it was there yesterday, but it was the 145, like the Catholic 20, 145 kind of hidden symbolism.
Okay, the day before, Westbrook was a span of 163 days from his birthday, and their franchise got their 163rd loss.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of toss up, but it was the Hurricanes going 5-0, and the Capitals, they weren't 4-11, they were 5-11.
So they became 5-12.
Yeah, they got their 12th against Carolina.
Well, like we said, the numbers did favor Carolina yesterday. Just the one thing that was the big scare was the coach. Could he face his old team? So if it wasn't for that, I think we would have been all over Carolina.
Yeah, the Royals, they ended the streak at 10 when they scored 10 wins to end the streak against the Rays at 10, of course.
Oh, okay. End the streak at 10 with 10 runs. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna be able to call in tomorrow. But tomorrow it's a big day in baseball. It's Vladimir Jr.
Yeah, Guerrero Jr. Right?
Yeah, he's called up to the show on Friday, so I think he'll be playing for Toronto. So.
Okay, his dad used to play for.
His dad was a beast.
His dad was the best baseball player I ever saw with my own eyes.
His son is looking a little bit better, man.
Really?
Yeah, he debuts on Friday, so it's a big thing. So I just hope you cover that, because I probably won't be able to.
Well, I'm gonna have to look at that. When I was growing up as a kid playing a lot of baseball, I really liked Vladimir Guerrero. So.
Yeah, his son, I think he's gonna wear number 27. He plays for the Blue Jays.
Of course, MLB 27. Yeah, his dad played for the Expos.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. Okay. Let's see. So, all right. I mean, the numbers, just looking at the series here, it really does make a lot of sense if Columbus wins these first two in Boston. Because, again, Boston's next win against Columbus is their 19th, and we have the 19-date numerology in Game 3. And we also see how if Boston dropped the first two again, they're 9-7, which is like 97 to 25th prime, and Game 2 has 25-date numerology. So that is just hard to overlook. The date numerology is perfect for that riddle. But man, just being aware of this article right here, this is obviously tied to the thing. It's just, when I think of Columbus sinking, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like a good narrative. So notice Sink is 53 and 28. Blue Jackets is 28, and Columbus Blue Jackets is 53, which means Columbus is also 25. So there's another reason to believe in that 97-25 riddle. They'd be 9-7 home and away against Columbus if that happened. So just knowing that story's out there, I'm really glad she called in and told us that. I mean, it makes me less sure about today's game, but sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. If the Blue Jackets lost today, that riddle would be busted. We'll look at how this Vegas money is. Blue Jackets to cover could be the pick today. Let's look at the Stars Blues game first, and see if we can figure out the same type of thing here. So hold on. Make another notepad. We're going to do the same thing for the Stars Blues series. And did the playoffs start again? Was it April 10th? All right, so the Stars also was an upset series. So away, away, home, home, away, home, away. All right. So they came out and won game 1. Got to win away. And then they lost. So win, loss. And then they lost, so they were down. And then they won. And then they won away. So they went up 3-2. And then they closed it out 4-2. So they were 2-1 at home. They were yeah.
Hey Zach, with one more thing with the goalies on the Brewer, I mean on the Bruins and Columbus Jackets game, Columbus, Ohio is 153, and the goalie Sergey, he's on 153 losses. And the other goalie is on, I think, 150 losses, maybe.
I'll go ahead and check that. So we're going to look at the coaches and the goalie tool. Yeah.
Yeah, but Columbus, Ohio is 153, so I noticed that. last night from my notes. I just wanted to let you know.
All right, that's a great observation. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks. Okay. So now I need the Blues. I got to see what the Blues did real quick. Almost done here. We just want to make sure all our notes are right. All right, so the Blues was another upset series. Hey, what's up?
Maybe something to think about is how far away is Dallas, where they play, from Corpus Christi? Maybe it's a sign of the Stanley Cup final, perhaps?
Oh, that they could play that team?
Maybe.
Well, Dallas is more inland. But yeah, we could look that up. I mean, they aren't.
There was one more with regards to, oh man, I'm drawing a blank. Something to do with the Blue Jackets. Okay, I don't want to take your time. I don't remember.
Okay, you can always call back. All right, thanks, man. All right, we're going to get this figured out here. Okay. So, the Blues won the first game away, and then they went up 2-0, winning both in Winnipeg, and then I think Winnipeg came back and won both in St. Louis, if I remember right. Yes, they did. And then the Blues won the last two. Yep. Okay. So they were 1-2 at home, and they were 3-0 on the road. And then they won it 4-2 on the, wasn't that on a 42 date in Missouri's 42? No, it wasn't a 42 date. But they did win the series 4-2. Okay. So, you know what? I have my notes here for the Dallas Blues series. Let's go back. I should have looked at the coaches and the goalie for the Bruins series before we got off it. Whoa, what am I on? Oh, I went to MLS. While we're just on this series, again, we're seeing this riddle. Could the Blue Jackets win the first two in Boston? If they did, I think Boston would win the first one back in Columbus. The riddle looks good in terms of the numbers. The numbers for the dates would make perfect sense if this happened. So let's check the coaches real quick, and then we'll do this Stars Blues series, which again I got my notes ready for here. And all right, let's see. I gotta bookmark this. I gotta come back to this story. I'll do a post on that later. Okay. Bruins coach Bruce Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Let's see. He's 53 years old. Columbus Blue Jackets 53. We just saw that ritual with the Julian Edelman and 53rd win of the season. All right, let's see. All right, so with Boston, his next win with Boston is his 118th. Columbus Blue Jackets 118. Patriots 118. Blue Jackets means Patriots. Or no, hold on. That's in the regular season. I take it back. So he's actually at 128 wins. Next win's 129 total. His next loss is his 67th. Well, that's another way the 19 riddle could go then. Again, I like looking at the team's records overall. They're usually better than the coaching records. But his next loss will be his 67th, which is the 19th prime. And that 19 date's not till Game 3 in Columbus. I think it's going to be smart to watch tonight's game. I think if Boston goes down, I think our riddle's in effect. I think Columbus will take the first two in Boston if that happens. But hold on, we still got to look at a few more things. So altogether he's 13 and 18 in the playoffs too, so that means that his next loss is his 67th with Boston and his 19th all-time in the playoffs. How perfect is that? 67, the 19th prime. Birthday's May 20th. How many days is it from today to his birthday? May 20, 2019. 25 days. Columbus is 25. So he's starting this series 25 days from his birthday against Columbus. What's Christopher Columbus equal anyway? Christopher Columbus. Also, oh, oops, I gotta spell it right. Also 106 like Columbus. It's about 151. Okay. Okay, so if Boston wins tonight, I'm going to assume they win their first two, and this coach gets his 19th loss at that game in Columbus. The thing we'll have to remember, though, is those back-to-back games in Columbus both fall on dates with 19 numerology. That said, I still think we'll find out tonight. I still think the riddle's better with Columbus winning the first two in Boston, because usually the team records trump the coaches' records. Okay. And the Columbus coach, John Tortorella. Okay. He's 7 and 8 in the playoffs. Now, if he lost tonight, the coaches' records are interesting. The coaches' records are telling the opposite story of the team records. If he lost tonight, he would be 7 and 9, like 79, the 22nd prime. That's with Columbus. And he'd also get his 55th loss all time. Boston, Massachusetts is 55. His next win is his 51st. Boston Bruins 51. And Columbus right now at 51 wins total on the season. $263, 243. No, that's I wrong. 672 and 547. Let me see if 673 is a prime number. 122nd prime. His next win is his 673rd all time. What about 547? 547 is the 101st prime number. So very interesting that he's at 547 career losses. Could Columbus win every game in the playoffs and never lose as an 8 seed? Wouldn't that be the funniest story ever? I don't think that's going to happen. But so he came into these playoffs, though, at that many career losses. He came into these playoffs, and again, this will be the 101st Stanley Cup. So, okay. So we see why he comes in with these 547 losses. Okay. And did I close the bracket thing here? I got to pull that back up. There's another big clue on. So whoever wins this series plays the Islanders or the Hurricanes. If Columbus wins the series, they're at 55 wins. If Boston wins the series, they're at 57 wins. So 55, 57. And let's just see how that might connect over here to the potential teams. We talked about how the Stanley Cup, if it does begin May 27th, that is a date with 51 numerology. New York Islanders 94, it's the Bruins 104th season. New York Islanders New York and Boston Bruins, the teams with the 51 connections. Islanders. All right, I didn't see 55 or a 57 connection. I'm just doing it one more time in case I'm missing it. New York City's 57, I know that. Islanders 56. All right, what about Carolina Hurricanes? Hurricanes. So it's not going to be that easy for us. We're not going to be able to tell from the win total who's meeting up next over here. But hold on, let's also do it from the other perspective real quick. Let's also look at how many total wins the Islanders and the Hurricanes are at and see if it points to either of the teams that we're looking at today, Bruins and Columbus. So the Islanders have 52 wins on the season. We saw that the Islanders have the 56 connection. So if they win in the next round, they do get to 56 wins. And the Hurricanes, yeah, they're at 50 wins. Mr. Game 7 with the 50 connections got it done there. So okay, so next round 56, next round 54. 56, 54, what they would be at. Columbus Blue Jackets. Color?
Hey Zach, one more thing before I leave the work. They said yesterday on the idiot box, they said that it was the first. Well, they said something about all the wild card teams in the NHL had advanced. So you can go to Google and type in like wild card advance NHL and try to find like some hidden stats, because they said something, but I forgot it. You know, I hate hockey, honestly. But baseball is no money in it, so better invest my time somewhere else. But yeah, just type in like wild card advance NHL, like the keywords, and find it on CBS. The thing, the publication with the eye, with the blue eye. They should have something on it, and they have like hidden stats under it.
What's the publication with the blue eye?
I think is it CBS Sports?
Oh, okay.
The people who they have like a sports betting thing called Sportsline. It's like $60 for 3 months. I swear, if you buy it, you can just fade their computer picks, and you'll be rich.
Really? They're that good, huh?
No. You have to fade their computer picks. So go the opposite of what the
computer sure.
said.
That's just like what I was saying yesterday because all the experts said the Capitals were going to win yesterday. I was like, yep, usually when the experts do this, it's usually going the other way.
Yeah, it's like an expensive thing. It's called Sportsline, and it says like a model computer picks, and it says like A to D. And when it says A, if you fade it, you'll win all the time.
Sure. I noticed that when the experts are in consensus, it usually goes the other way. So.
Yeah, but that all NHL wildcard teams advanced this year. So it's like another hidden stat somewhere under that.
Okay. I'll look more into it. Appreciate it. All right. Okay. So the thought I was having, okay, again, we're just looking at the Islanders are advanced. They're at 56 wins. Carolina advances. They're at 54. And let me see. Does that connect to Boston Bruins or Columbus Blue Jackets? Blue Jackets. Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio has the 54 connection. So if Carolina advanced past the Islanders, the 101 teams, well, their Sharks might still be alive, but they're one of the only 101 teams left. Columbus, Ohio. Boston. All right, yeah. Unfortunately, that's not going to help us out. Columbus, Ohio is the only potential clue. Columbus goes up 2-0. I think things are looking good for them. But, man, that ship's sinking. I just don't know what to make of that. It does not seem like a positive story. So, all right, we got to look at the goalies too. Hey, look at that. The coach of Columbus is from Boston. That's funny. He has a 107 birth numerology, like how Blue Jackets is 107. If they win this series, they get to 50. He gets to 54 playoff wins all time. If they swept this series, man, they'd be 11-8, like Columbus Blue Jackets, like Patriots is 118. I don't see the sweep though. Doesn't look like it's in the numbers. It's a deeper riddle. Okay, let's check out the goalies. Goalies. All right, we got Survey versus Tuca. Yeah, 213 wins with Columbus, 130 losses. Now, what's interesting about his loss total is his next loss is his 131st loss, which is the 32nd prime, and Boston's 32. It doesn't have to come today. It doesn't have to come today, but just makes me think them sweeping the series just seems unlikely. He's at 255 career wins. His next 2 wins would put him at 257. That's the 55th prime. Again, Boston, Massachusetts, 55. Toronto just came up short on getting their 257th playoff win against Boston. But it is there. It'll be his 257th win. Caller?
Hey, Zach, real quick. Johnny here in New York. I just want to remind you what that caller said. I don't know if you went over with the Blue Jackets. He said he won a ton of money last year finding that common thread number. I think last year was 57. This year he said the champions of Virginia Cavaliers was 118. The Patriots were 118. Right. And, of course, the Columbus Blue Jackets got 118.
And Blue Jackets means Patriots. And, well, there's some feedback. Yeah, it's very interesting. So we are looking at that. It's very possible. But I think that same guy also avoided the Tiger information and bet on all the golfers with the 118 connection. So
there you go. Hey, it's not a perfect science. Keep up the great work, brother.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate it, man. So, yeah, no, I don't – I mean, that guy who picked Columbus with the 118, he picked him before they even beat Tampa Bay. So he's definitely onto something. But, you know, like the Clemson Tigers, they won the championship. They don't have the 118 connection. So I'm not sure that everybody's going to do it. But because Blue Jackets means Patriots and now they're facing Boston and we just had the Julian Edelman story, I mean, the narrative is there. So if Columbus sweeps these first 2 games in Boston, which isn't the numbers, I think they'll be on their way past this series. And we did see that Columbus, Ohio's 54 again. If Hurricanes advance, they'd be at 54 wins. And what was the other thing we mentioned? What was the other thing? Something else we said. Oh yeah, it was acknowledged that if Columbus won the championship this year, they'd have 63 wins on the season. Columbus, Ohio equals 63. Tom Brady with the Patriots became 6-3 in the Super Bowl. So there's definitely some riddles for Columbus. I don't want to shoot it down. I'm just saying I know that the 118 is not a perfect riddle for this year. Okay, Tuukka Rask. He's got the 53 thing going, and he's Boston's goalie. So I didn't check the gematria of the other guy. Let me get his stats here. Tuukka Rask. Oh, wait a minute. These last stats I was looking at, though, those probably don't include playoffs. That's right. I have to use that other website to get the playoff stats. Hold on. I got to pull up the other site for the playoff stats. Find that one. I think that was, I think it was right here. There we go. Playoffs. So in the playoffs, he's 9-14. Columbus 47, the 15th prime. Today's date does have 23 numerology, the 9th prime. He could stay at 9 wins. Again, the numbers are favoring Columbus, but it's just that one story about the sinking Columbus ship in Texas that's tripping me up today. So 9-14. Okay. And the other goalie is Tuukka Rask. Playoff stats. (39-33). Okay, if he sometimes a goalie will start the whole series. If he got 4 wins in this series, he would have 43 wins, and Bruins is 43. Blue Jackets with the S is 37. I think it's 37th loss too. Okay. Okay, so just to review what we've said for this first game that we're looking at today here. We saw a riddle that if the Blue Jackets beat the Bruins in the first 2 games, if the Blue Jackets beat the Bruins in the first 2 games, the Bruins would be 9-7 at home all time against the Blue Jackets, kind of like 97, the 25th prime, and that would happen in game 2 on a date with 25 numerology. Columbus equals 25. Also, the Bruins' next win against the Blue Jackets is their 19th as a franchise, and game 3 and game 4, both in Columbus, fall on 19-date numerologies. We saw that it would probably make a bit more sense for the Bruins to win that first game in Columbus if they did drop the first 2 at home. So the numbers are there to believe the Bruins start 0-2. However, the Bruins coach, let me get him back up here. The coaches for both teams, the coaches' stats tell the opposite story. But I know from doing this long enough that leading with the coaches' records will usually hurt you. It's usually more about the team records than the coach records. And this year when I do the NFL, I'm going to be real emphatic about that. Because when you look at coaches' records, if you win all season off the coaches' records, you would be screwed. But if you win all season off the team records, you do just fine. Sometimes the coaches' records do matter, though. It's not to say that they don't matter. Sometimes there's just like a lockdown riddle with the coaches. In the NFL, for example, you'll see it's like for some reason Pete Carroll gets the craziest riddles. And you can just see it's like, okay, this one's for Seattle. I don't know what it is about Pete Carroll, but okay, this guy right here. See, the Boston coach, he's at 19 or he's at 18 all-time playoff losses. And again, if it is about him in this series, maybe Boston starts 2-0 and he picks up that 19th loss in the first game in Columbus. That's kind of why I want to wait and see tonight. Even though I know that the riddle seems better for Columbus with the sinking ship story of the Columbus replica, La Nina, which equals 51 like Boston Bruins, and Columbus being at 51 wins. I just kind of want to wait and see what happens tonight on this game. I think if Columbus wins tonight, I think they'll be good to win game 2 as well. I think that riddle's going to be in effect. And then, because I just like to see this coach pick up his 19th loss tonight, the Boston coach. So I think we'll look at the Vegas thing too and just see how the money is. I imagine the money's going to be on Boston. Well, yeah, who knows? After we'll look and see. Okay, so let's see if we can get a good riddle in this Stars Blues game. The Stars Blues. So let's look at what their records are for the season. I got their home and away for the playoffs here. Okay. So the Stars for the season have 47 wins right now. 47, that magic number. And they have 34 losses. They won their series 4-2. And let me make sure I got this right. Yeah, Blues are at home tonight. All right, so the away record for Dallas. In the last series, they went 2-1 away and 2-1 at home. So away right now, they are 21-19. 21-19 away. And the Blues, in their series, actually struggled at home. They went 1-2 at home and 3-0 on the road in the last series. So at home, they're 25. St. Louis equals 25 and 17. 25 and 17. And again, Dallas away is 21 and 19. So our date numerology, we have a 41 date. Dallas is 41. But unfortunately, well, it is the 25th too. Staying on 25 on the 25th is a possibility, but that's not a strong. That's like a crapshoot type of riddle. It's better if it'd be better if they were going for their 25th loss or their 25th win. Dallas. Okay, so I don't think. Yeah, we don't have anything lining up with the date numerology there, unfortunately, and not for the season total either. So let's see if they play the same. Let's see if their path is the same as the Bruins. I imagine these games are scheduled the same. We'll see. All right, so game 2 should be the 27th. Yeah. And then let's just see here. Oh, it gets a little bit off. They have a game on the 29th. Okay. So I'm going to, again, we're going to look at this date numerology down the road. So the first 2 games are the same. Then they're going to play April 29th. So that's going to be, the date was 72, 45, 27, 52. Yeah, that's right. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Hey, I just got on your live stream with the hockey. Who did you like out of Boston and Columbus?
Okay, so we just finished looking at it, and the riddle is this that's on the board. So if Columbus comes out and wins the first 2 games of the series in Boston, it'll make Boston 9-7 at home all time against Columbus, kind of like 97, the 25th prime, and that game 2's on a 25 date numerology, and Columbus equals 25. And Boston's next win against Columbus is their 19th win all time. Game 3, the first game back in Columbus, is on a 19 date numerology. So it's looking like Columbus could come out and win the first 2 in Boston. However, the Boston coach, and again, I don't like to lead with coaching records, but I want to observe tonight because Boston's coach's next loss in all time in the playoffs is his 19th. So if Boston came out and won the first 2, it could be that the riddle's more about that coach. And he would probably pick up his 19th all-time playoff loss on that 19-date numerology. However, the coach of Columbus is from Boston. So I'm expecting, what I'm anticipating is I think the riddle's better for Columbus to win it tonight and win the first 2. If Columbus wins tonight, I'm going to expect them to win game 2 as well. And then I think the riddle will be on with the date numerology because things line up really well if Columbus wins the first 2 games.
Okay. To piggyback on what you're saying, Boston's 9-16 versus Columbus. Am I correct? Am I saying that correctly?
I don't. Hold on. Boston against Columbus is 18-12 all time.
Oh, so Columbus is 9-16 or something, right? Is that playoff next? I want to make sure I'm saying this right.
Oh, Columbus in the playoffs. That's close to their playoff record here. Let me just pull it up again. What Columbus's playoff record is? They have a losing record right now. Let's see. NHL team series record. Columbus right now is 9-16 in the playoffs. Yep.
Okay, now I just want to throw it out there to you. They play Saturday on NBC. NBC equals 17. So do they walk in with the 17 or do they get it on Saturday?
Well, there'll probably be several games on NBC. So.
Well, today is on NBC-SN, and then Saturday is NBC. So.
Okay, and Ohio's the 17th state too, so that's another thing to think about.
That's good.
So.
That's good. That's good right there. You can't deny that.
That's why I'm wondering if they win the first 2 and lose back in Ohio in that one game. So I'm checking
and
something
then,
else.
I agree with you today. I'm glad we're on point because it's like this is a look and see game. So then you can go from there then.
Yeah, if Columbus wins tonight, I think the riddle's set up good because then they could follow the date numerology really well, the series. So.
Right. Yeah, I just want you to be on the lookout for the networks because I think the deeper it gets with like Eastern Conference Finals and stuff, like that. Look what we missed yesterday with Golden State. Golden State got their 27th loss of the season, and then Clippers stayed on 27 losses, I think, on the conference, and TNT equals 27.
Sure, that was probably part of it. The things that the best riddle for the Clippers yesterday was getting that 93rd win in Oracle Arena. That's always a big number there. And then Kerr got his 22nd loss on the 22 date. But I'm still surprised that series didn't go 4-1. So.
Right. But yeah, I like the hockey. I guess we just wait and see, and then should be easy money throughout the weekend. So. Yeah. All right, I want to catch up. I'm just gonna finish listening to you, man. Thank you.
All right, and we already did the Spurs game. The Spurs look good today, so. All right. Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Okay. Okie dokie. So anyway, I was figuring out the date numerology here for the game. So when do they play again? Is their series off? Oh, so their series is on a different pattern. So then they're going to play May 1st. Let's just take a second here. So let's do with 45 numerology. 18 numerology and 5 numerology, 26. No, yeah, 25. There we go. All right. So then what? They play May 3rd. Yeah, May 3rd. Okay. All right. So May 3rd will have the 47, 20. Whoops. 47, 20, 27. And then I imagine they play May 5th. And May 5th. May 5th is 49, 22, 29. May 7th. May 7th, okay. That would be the last game. So May 7th, 12, 1, 24, 31. Okay, so let's go back and look at this now again and see if we can figure out how it comes together here. So again, just one more time, look at the records. Dallas for the season. They went 4-2 in the last round, 2-1 away and home. Tonight they're away. St. Louis is at home. Dallas, that makes them 47. St. Louis equals 47. Keep that in mind. St. Louis 47. So if Dallas dropped the first 2 games in St. Louis, which is possible, they'd stay at 47 wins. So that's an important stat. So 47, and away they are 21-19. Okay. And St. Louis, I have to write it up here. St. Louis also won their series 4-2. Missouri's 42. So St. Louis for the season is 49. Oh, fitting, right? Because Dallas is 49. Dallas 49, so doesn't that make sense? 49-30. Dallas 1-1-3, the 30th prime. And at home they went 1-2 at home. So again, they're at 25 home wins. St. Louis is 25 as well. And they're at 25-17. 25-17. And looking at how do I get this to fit on there? There we go. Okay. So 25-17. The next game will have a lesser numerology of 50. Not crazy about the lesser numerology, but if St. Louis did drop the first game, wait a minute, let me think about that. Well, might have to pay attention to this lesser numerology. I'm just seeing that if Dallas did win today, they would get their 48th win. And if St. Louis won the second one, they've struggled at home in the playoffs. They would get their 50th win of the season. So possibility here that Dallas could take the first one and St. Louis the second. 48th win for Dallas, 50th win for St. Louis is possible. Again, today's date does have that 41 numerology. Dallas is 41. Okay. These 2 games right here are going to be back in Dallas. Okay, so the lesser numerology does matter more at the beginning of the month because you have less date methods. I'm just seeing that first game back in Dallas is on a date with a lesser numerology of 25. They could get their 25th home win on the lesser date numerology of 25 over St. Louis 25. So that would keep them at 14 losses as well. St. Louis is also 43, the 14th prime. 18 up there. Okay. So how would that look? It would be 1-1. Dallas would be. Or wait a minute. Did I skip a day? Wait a minute, I skipped a day. My fault, I skipped a day. This is game 4 right here. This is game 4. That's game 4, my fault. Hold on. Another potential scenario is that, again, we talked about how Dallas could stay at 47 wins in St. Louis. If St. Louis won the first 2 games, they'd be at 51 wins on the season with a chance to pick up their 52nd on this lesser date of 52, April 29th. And then that would put Dallas down 3-0 in Dallas. Again, Dallas is 113, the 30th prime. And they would have a chance to win right here, picking up their 25th home win on the lesser date numerology of 25. So that's interesting. They would be, if that happened, their record would be, they'd become 25-15. This game would be back in St. Louis right here on a 47 date. If they closed out Dallas, if they won the series 4-1, Dallas does equal 41. They could close it out on a date with 47 numerology. St. Louis is 47. And Dallas Stars is 27. How many? That would be their 3rd home win if it went that way. They would get their 27th home win. The Stars would get their, or the Blues would get their 20. Wait a minute. No, that's wrong. They would. That's wrong. Hold on, you guys. I'm screwing up. I'm sorry. I got to go back. I'm messing up. Because I'm forgetting to add the numbers for what their records are right now. So hold on. Let me redo this. We got to get this right. St. Louis is 3-0 away. So they're 24, 13, and 7. 1 and 2 at home. So they're 25, 17, and 2. Okay. Dallas home is 26, 15, and 3. And away is 21, 19, and 4. Okay, let me look at this again right. Okay. Okay. So again, for this game 1, the only potential numerology overlap is with Dallas getting their 48th win of the season on the lesser numerology of 48, which again is a method that's not as consistent as these methods right here. But again, what is standing out is that Dallas does equal 41, and the series is beginning on a date with a life lesson number of 41. So tricky. If St. Louis were to win today, they would go into game 2 coming in with 50 wins, having that number on the lesser date numerology of 50. If they did not win today, if Dallas won today, that is to say, if Dallas won game 1, St. Louis would come in also to this game 2, still at 25 home wins. And again, St. Louis is 25. They're at 25 home wins right now. So that's tough. You could make an argument either way. We're going to have to look at the head-to-head on MQ. We will. I'm just trying to look at each potential riddle here so we can figure out what makes the most sense. May 1st. All right, no, game 3 would be back in Dallas, April 29th. And Dallas Stars equals 27. So I see that first game in Dallas has that 27 connection. There won't be. Dallas has been a very good away team this year. Dallas has played. Oh, no, I got that backwards. Now, hold on. Okay, so wait a minute. So Dallas would be going for its 27th home win right here. Dallas Stars 27. So I think Dallas wins this game. This game looks pegged for Dallas. 27th home win, 27 date numerology, Dallas Stars 27. They're at 26 home wins. So I think this looks like the strongest read so far in this series, game 3. Like that one for Dallas, absolutely. This one is also at home. And let me see the Gematria Dallas Stars real quick. St. Louis Blues. Dallas Stars 27. Okay. Okay, so this looks like the clearest read in this series, game 3. I'll be surprised if Dallas loses that game. 27th win, 27 date at home. Dallas Stars 27. If St. Louis did win their first 2 at home, they would get to 27 wins. And the Dallas Stars is 27. That would also keep Dallas at 47 wins in St. Louis. Again, St. Louis is 47. So game 4 makes sense of this. St. Louis in game 4, they could get their 25th away win. St. Louis could get their 25th away win in this game on a date numerology of 25. So that's something for St. Louis right there. So I could see this being a split. Dallas wins game 3, St. Louis game 4. Okay. This would come back to St. Louis right here. And in St. Louis equals 47. We got a 47 date. They could close them out in game 5 because Dallas does equal 41. So you could make sense of why the series might go 4 games to 1. 41's the 13th prime. Dallas is also 13. Dallas lost 2. All right, let's look at the M cubed and C for these teams too. See if the series record tells a different story. Okay, so Dallas and St. Louis, 167 to 165. That's where Dallas. Okay, get this. If Dallas does drop those first 2 games in St. Louis, they'd be 167 and 167. That's the 39th prime number. St. Louis Blues is 39. So if they did drop the first 2 games, you could see the ritual there. They'd stay at 47 wins in St. Louis. St. Louis 47. Where's my thing? Okay. Okay, so that's Dallas. You could make sense of their record if they drop the first two. If they get to 2 more wins, they'd be at 169, which has a square root of 13. Dallas is 13. But they're going against St. Louis, so you want to keep in mind the opponent. St. Louis is 168 and 203. So their next wins, they're 169th, square root of 13. Today does have that 41 numerology, the 13th prime. '41, the 13th prime. Okay. I don't think 203 is a prime number. Let me just check. 203. Okay. Now we need the head-to-head here. NHL teams, St. Louis Blues, series records, Dallas Stars, 171, 150. I don't think there was a 36 date numerology in this entire series. Let me see if there was a 40 or a 36 that came up real quick. 40 or a 36 is what I'm looking for. I don't see it. I'm looking at because they're prime numbers. 173 is the 40th prime, 151 is the 36th prime. So against Dallas, they're 106 and 56. Next win's 107, the 28th prime. Dallas, Texas is 28. Way 65, 94, 2. 36, 37. It'll be the 74th game. It's going to be the 74th game. St. Louis has that 74 connection. Can keep them at 47 wins tonight. Just the one thing, though, the one thing about today is this lesser date numerology of 48, which is always a crapshoot. But it's just the one thing in the back of my mind that Dallas has on their side. If they won tonight, they'd be at 48 wins on the season. St. Louis wins, it's even at 37-37. St. Louis, Blues. Blues. Oh, Blues is 49 too, like Dallas. Going with 49 wins. Dallas. Stars. Stars. Oh, Stars is 40, so that's where the 173 could come. Doesn't go with the date, though. So that's another thing I can think about real quick is today's game's the 115th day of the year. Then they play the 117th and the 119th and the 121st, 123rd, 125th, 127th. If it went to game 7, just looking down the road, I mean, we can talk about there, but if it did go to game 7, just notice that 51 because Dallas is playing for their 51st win to advance in the series. And St. Louis has that 43 connection, so. Tell you what, if you're taking notes, game 3 looks like the surest pick. I do think that if St. Louis wins tonight, they're definitely going to win game 2. and keep Dallas at 47 wins in St. Louis. I'd be calling St. Louis tonight, but this is just what's holding me back. We're also going to take a peek at the coaches here and the goalie just to see if we can get something to tip us. But right now, just looking down the road, Game 3 looks like the best pick in the series, and that is Dallas to get their 27th home win on the 27 date, where Dallas Stars equals 27. So far, they have 2 wins, so they're at 26 right now. So let's check out some coaches here. Dallas Stars coach Jim Montgomery. Montgomery coaching record. 4-2 in the playoffs. Now, if he did lose, he would be 4-3, and St. Louis equals 43. So his record would make perfect sense with a loss tonight. Yes. Okay, so it's, yeah, he's got the same record as the Blues. It would be his 35th loss. I guess I could just be seeing how it lines up with their birthdays. June 30th, the full span. 67 days, the 19th prime. It's also 66 days. Was there a 66 hanging out here? St. Louis Blues is 66 or 67 days to his birthday. 19th prime. It is the 115th day of the year. That's another thing for St. Louis. 74th playoff, or what was it? It was the 74th game all time and the 115th day of the year. I got to tell you, I'm leaning St. Louis, but just the one thing is that potential 48th win. So, yeah, 74th game and the 115th day of the year. That's a double St. Louis connection. Okay, we need the that was the Dallas coach. Again, if the Dallas coach loses, his playoff record does make sense in St. Louis, 4-3. Stars is also 14, so 43, the 14th prime. It would make sense from that perspective too. Barube? Did I say Barube? Craig Barube. Okay, he is 7-6. Now, I'm pretty sure Dallas Stars has that 70. What was it? Oh, Stars is 77. Okay, so now we have a conflict with the coaches. So this is the other thing that could go against the Blues tonight. The coach could fall to 7-7 in the playoffs. He could also fall to 4-3 with St. Louis. See the goalies. Ben Bishop. And Bishop, 153, the 17th triangular. And Jordan Bennington. $118. Bishop. Bishop's got this 48 connection. He's going for Dallas. His team could pick up that 48th win on the lesser date numerology. He's unconfirmed. Let's see what these other sites are saying. They got Ben Bishop in there. They think it's Ben Bishop. And what about left wing lock? They think it's Ben Bishop as well. Okay. So a little bit of conflict there. Come back to these notes real quick. If St. Louis loses tonight, remember they'd be going for their 50th win on this lesser date numerology of 50. And again, game 3 looks very good for Dallas. That 27's big. So what's up?
Hey man, I know you don't like doing, but just kind of go back to the root of Columbus winning. You do today's date, 425, 5 times 4 is 100. The Boston coach could get his career 100th loss.
The Boston Bruins coach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you don't really do that, and I know you know, but and then that goes with the NBCSN equals 19. But I don't know. Like today's date, if you go 25 times 4, that's 100. So.
Sure. Well,
I guess we keep a look at it, you know, for the future or something. But
yeah, you can keep a look at it. What I'm trying to do for the rest of the playoffs is just like put the chips down on the picks that look really good. So neither of these NHL playoff games look really good tonight. The best looking playoff game today is the Spurs. So
yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I just was throwing that out there.
All right, I appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, let's look at these goalie stats real quick. All right, let's see what they got going on. So Ben Bishop. Ben Bishop stats. Hockey reference. Playoffs. Oh no. I need that other site. This one right here. It's the NHL.com one. If you scroll down the screen, you can choose playoffs. There we go. 25 and 15 is Ben Bishop. 25 and 15. Now, St. Louis is 25. He could stay at 25 wins on the 25th. The next game, the date is so if he lost tonight and started next game too, he would come into that game on the date numerology with the 25 too. He could still be on those 25 wins on the 25 date. Tonight's going to be his 41st start, right? Or no. I take it back. It's going to be, I guess somehow there's a way to get a no decision in hockey. Maybe if you get pulled while the game's tied or something. A little confusing. Okay, it's going to be his 43rd start tonight, and St. Louis is 43. Okay. The other guy is Jordan Binnington. Jordan Binnington. Jordan Binnington. Interesting. Now look at this guy going for his 25th win tonight on the 25th in St. Louis. St. Louis 25. One goalie can stay at 25. This guy can pick up number 25. How about that? He's 25 years old too. Amazing. Let's just see how it lines up. I'm going to go check both guys' birthdays. July 11th birthday. 77 days to his birthday. Stars is 77. Why they got to do that to me? Why do they got to do that? Whoops. Too many clicks. Ben Bishop, November 21st. "41 weeks after 2. November 21st. Is that what I just saw? November 21st. 155 days, or a span of 156. 33 connection. Okay. Okay. The only thing that was hurting here was that St. Louis coach. Caller, what's up?
What's good? What's good? I know you about done with hockey. I was just wondering if you could do like a little 5-minute rundown on baseball just to see if anything jumped your eye.
Sure. I started early today, but what I said today is definitely keep an eye on the games today because it's the 115th. Exactly. 115th day of the year, 115th World Series. So the teams that are playing today, we could figure out what the World Series is today, potentially in the scores, in the records.
Right. And Boston record is 115. Like they 10 and 15. It looks like 115.
Well, like we said yesterday, watch Boston yesterday. It's the 114th day of the year. They won the 114th World Series, and then there they go. They win 11-4.
Yeah, you called the Mets out too with the 5-7 rule.
Yeah, so I did start with baseball, and I said riddles are in effect, but still, it's just not consistent enough to be confident to pick right now. So I'm keeping the eye there. Let me finish this hockey.
I'm wondering too, you know how these playoff games, it seems like it's more of a crapshoot trying to decode playoff games because you got 7 games, so it's like.
Hold on, man. Have you been paying attention to what we've been doing in the playoffs? We have a very high percentage through the NBA and NHL playoffs.
No, I'm not saying you're not calling games. I'm just saying the playoffs can still go either way. Like Golden State next series can go down their first 2 games and Golden State, then, it can just go crazy how they can do it in the series. That's all I'm saying.
It follows the riddles. The Warriors were a little bit of a surprise. We saw the prayer for the Clippers yesterday because yesterday the playoff advice was right. I mean, it said if you took my advice, it said lay off the Warriors game and take the other 2 teams to cover, and they both did. So playoffs has been way more consistent than baseball right now. There's no way I could advocate for betting baseball over playoffs right now. But I'll take a look at baseball and see if I can find something real quick. So the reason I had to start earlier today is because I got invited for a Pasadena, California TV interview, and I have to be done here in 24 minutes to get on with them. So let me wrap this up, and I'll come back after well, they said I need to be with them until about 3 in the afternoon, but I'll come back at the end of the day if there's still time and do more work if more work needs to be done. So.
Okay, because in that Miami and Philly game, it's like they 7 and 17. So I'm looking for them to go 19 and 8. But it's like they're going to win 1 game in Philly, but it's just like what game, you know what I mean, to get on. Because I can see them at 8 and 19. That's a prime number relationship. So I just didn't know if to play Philly today or if Miami had a good shot today. Which one?
Well, the Phillies are one of the teams with 115 connection, and they are playing today. They got the 115 Gematria, so I'll look at it. All right. Thanks. Okay, so NHL, it's tight today. Again, to review what we talked about with the NHL. Here, let me look at this. Let me see how the money is, too. Let's see how the money is. And then we'll review. Okay. Okay. Woo! Look at that. 97% on St. Louis. Well, if I was going to bet this game, I would bet Dallas the cover looking at that. My goodness. Dallas could still win, or St. Louis could still lose to, or let me talk. St. Louis could still win today, but not cover. because that is very lopsided. So check on what it is at game time. Again, this website, pregame.com, pregame.com. They keep the real-time money stats. In Columbus and Boston, it's not so lopsided here, but more's on Boston, so Columbus to cover would be the way to go here. And what do they got for the NBA game? Where's the NBA game? There it is. Okay. Oh, people are digging the Spurs today, huh? People are digging those Spurs. Hopefully it's not. Well, maybe it's people in here betting. Okay. That's not going to change my opinion about the Spurs. They got a great riddle today. So, all right, let's just review what we said for the NHL. So, NHL, starting with, let me get this up on the screen here. So, what we're looking at is if the Blue Jackets come out and beat the Bruins in both games in Boston, the Bruins' next win against the Blue Jackets is their 19th all-time, and Game 3 is on a 19-date numerology. So is Game 4. They both happen to have 19 dates, Game 3 and 4 in Columbus. If the Blue Jackets win the first two, it's going to set up the Bruins to probably win Game 3. And what we saw is if the Blue Jackets win the first two games in Boston, Boston's home record against the Blue Jackets all time will be 9 wins, 7 losses. That's if the Blue Jackets win the first two. And if that happens, it's interesting because they would become 9-7 on a date with 25 numerology, where 97 is the 25th prime number and Columbus equals 25. So that riddle makes sense. However, when you look at the coach's record for the Bruins, his next playoff loss is his 19th. And I never like to lead with coaches. It burns me more often than not. But sometimes it is the coach that's the riddle. And sometimes that's why you got to wait and see to figure it out. And you can do that in a playoff series. You don't have to bet every game. So my advice is I would probably just lay low on tonight's game. If I did bet it, I'd bet the Blue Jackets to cover. We just saw how the Vegas money is. I would bet the Blue Jackets to cover if I did bet tonight. But if the Blue Jackets win tonight, I think that riddle's probably going to come through because that'll take the coach's record off the board for Boston, the threat. And then it does make perfect sense for the Blue Jackets to start 2-0 in Boston. And then we'll look at Game 3 and 4 because it is possible they could start 3-0, but I don't think they're going to sweep this series. That said, we did see if the Blue Jackets did sweep the series again, their coach would be 11-8 in the playoffs, and Columbus Blue Jackets is 118. So Boston has the best record in the NHL out of all the remaining teams in the playoffs. I guess the Blue Jackets just swept the best team in the NHL, didn't they? So, I mean, I guess they could sweep Boston again. But the date numerology says that if Boston loses the first two games, they're likely to pick up Game 3 and if not, Game 4. Because, again, both those dates have 19 numerology, and the Bruins' next win's the 19th. So, tread with caution there. In this Blues series, Dallas is at, let me put it up here again so I'm not misspeaking. Dallas is at, hold on, let me just get it up here. I got too many windows open is the problem. Dallas is at 47 wins for the season. St. Louis equals 47. If they drop the first two in St. Louis, they would stay at 47 while in St. Louis. That said, the Blues are at 49 wins for the season, and Dallas equals 49, and so does Blues. Is that the one that surprised me? Yeah, Blues. So Blues and Dallas are both 49. So you can see why they're playing each other. Just like how in the other series, Columbus is at 51 wins and Boston Bruins equals 51, and Boston's at 53 wins and Columbus Blue Jackets equals 53. Definitely overlooked that. But we looked for the series ahead for both of these teams to see if the win outcome they could have would line up with the next city. It wasn't really there. But this Dallas series, I think Game 3 is in the books for Dallas. And the reason why is Game 3 looks like the surest pick just looking down the series. We mapped out the whole series. Game 3, Dallas can pick up their 27th home win on a 27-date numerology. Dallas Stars equals 27. If the Blues won the first two, that would make the series 2-1 on that day. What the Stars have going for them today is today has a lesser date numerology of 48, which is, it's inconsistent in terms of how it shows up in the games. Again, lesser date numerology. The bold methods are the ones that use all the digits of the date. They're very consistent. The lesser date, not as much. But Dallas could get their 48th win today. If they did, we saw that the coach of the Blues would become 7-7 in the playoffs, and Stars equals 77, so that's possible. But what we also saw was with the goalies. Today's the 25th of the month. St. Louis equals 25. The Blues goalie can get his 25th career playoff win, and the Stars goalie can stay at 25 career playoff wins. So to me, I favor the Blues more today because St. Louis, here, let me just put this up here. It's the 115th day of the year. St. Louis is 115. They can keep Dallas at 47 wins. It's the 74th playoff match between these teams. They can even it at 37-37. So I think St. Louis has a little bit better riddle, but they're the big favorite, right? So I don't think they're worth betting just because Dallas could pick up that 48th win. I mean, there is a riddle there. I think if Dallas wins tonight, St. Louis will win the next game. So we'll look at that if it happens. But right now, just looking down the road, Game 3 of this series is looking like the surest pick, and Dallas winning that Game 3 at home. So Blue Jackets and Bruins. Blue Jackets, again, do have a good riddle to win tonight. The Bruins have the riddle through the coach. So we saw that the money... Let me check that money again one more time. How was it for the... I think all the money was on St. Louis as well. Yeah, it was. All the money was on St. Louis. It was 90-some%. So I'm guessing St. Louis isn't going to cover the spread tonight if they do win. And perhaps Dallas does win. I mean, they do have a little riddle on the board. So if St. Louis wins, they won't cover, I would assume. Dallas is a potential upset. So really, I would just cross this game off the list tonight. It's a tight read. If you want to take the Stars to cover with the Vegas strategy, I mean, that's up to you. Blue Jackets, Bruins is also a little bit risky tonight because we do have riddles both ways. But the majority of the money on the Bruins, if I did bet this, it would be Blue Jackets to cover. So there's that. And then in the NBA, we did see that 2/3 of the money is on the Spurs tonight. Actually, 70%, a little more than 2/3. But I still really like the Spurs riddle. The Spurs riddle, I'll just say the one thing that could go against the Spurs before I talk about what's good for them. Spurs does have Gematria 42. If they lost tonight, Denver would close out the series 4-2. However, there's so many 23s on the board. We have 23-date numerology. Nuggets can get their 23rd away loss tonight. Spurs can get their 23rd win against Denver in the playoffs. Colorado is also 83, the 23rd prime. But they can get their 23rd win in the playoffs, and the Spurs can stay at 23 losses at home all time against the Nuggets. So all these 23s point to the Spurs, Again, that would make the series 3-3. Spurs also equals 33, so does Nuggets. So you have overlap with 33. So if I'm betting one game today, I would bet the Spurs. And taking the points is up to you. I mean, 3 is not a lot to cover, but again, I'm a conservative guy. If I bet personally, I would just bet on the money line for the Spurs. It's probably not going to make a big difference in the bet, and then you don't have to worry about losing with the Spurs, winning by a point or 2 points. But just all those 23s, this Nuggets Spurs series has been very good about the date numerology. We've done very well with this series, and don't want to go off the strategy we've been following. So, Game 7, back in Colorado. Colorado's 43. We'll have to look at this more, but there's reason to believe in a Game 7 too, because Colorado's 43. Either team could get it 4-3. And this date has a life lesson number of 43, the day of Game 7. So it's funny, this is still up there. This series is closed out, isn't it? Oh, no. Oh, never mind. That's round 2. Whoops. Okay. So Spurs look like the best bet in the playoffs today. NHL, you can follow the where the money is and make your pick that way, because that also seems to be a good strategy. And with as much money as on the Blues, I'm having trouble imagining that they cover the spread. So away teams to cover, if you got to do it, might be the best strategy there in the NHL. But again, there's going to be more games. There's always going to be more games. And also for the MLB, 115th day of the year, 115th World Series. Today has 68 date numerology. Baseball hasn't been real consistent with any patterns, but that's just something that jumps out in this Dodgers-Cubs game. If the Dodgers lost, they'd be 6-8 on the 68 date. The Cubs would be 8-3, kind of like 83, the 23rd prime. So we did point out how 7-3 would make sense in the Chicago-Los Angeles series. Both cities equal 37. The reflection is 73. Braves and Reds. Again, prime numbers. Again, I'm not saying pick any baseball, but we're just trying to see if any consistency is coming back. With the 23 date, 23 the 9th prime, could the Reds stay there? Definitely going to want to do some more research on that. The Phillies are one of the teams with 115 connection. Here they are playing on the 115th day of the year. If the Phillies become 9-4 today, you have to remember this, because they could be the National League team. 94 equals 147 and 57, just like World Series. Okay? So Phillies becoming 9-4 today. And by the way, Marlins is 49, the reflection. So I imagine the Phillies probably do win today. And they really might be our National League team. The Brewers are not playing today, which is interesting to me. Again, Miller Park's 115. They were a team to consider for the World Series. So I'm remembering now that Seattle train wreck was connected to Philadelphia. I'm going to have to go back and look at that. Do you guys remember the big train wreck just outside of Seattle and DuPont a little more than a year ago? There was some Philadelphia thing with that. I'm going to have to go back and look at that. But I'll be surprised. I'm just going to say right there on the surface, I'll be surprised if the Phillies lose today. And if they do win, we're going to have to keep an eye on this as our World Series team. So 115th day of the year, Red Sox 1015. They won 11-4 yesterday on the 114th day of the year as the defending champions of the 114th World Series. I'd have to do more research on that one. There's nothing screaming out at me on the surface other than Boston, Massachusetts equals 55. They could become 5-5 at home. Michigan's also 46, where the Tigers are from. Michigan's also 64, so you'd want to do some more research on that one. Indians, Astros. What's up, man?
Hey, Zach. Are you doing a live stream?
I am.
Oh, okay. I'll call you back later.
All right, see. Okay. Cleveland Indians is 67. Cleveland Indians does equal 67. Not sure if there's a 91 thing. Astros is 92. Watch to see if the Astros start 9-2 on the season. Today's date does have the 41 connection. 41's the 13th prime. Indians could stay at 13 wins. If the Astros became 16-9, that's like 169 having a square root of 13. 23 date, Angels. Are the Yankees going for the sweep today? Keep in mind that today has the 23 date numerology and sweeps 23. Anyone going for a sweep today, the sweep thing did well on the 23 date. It didn't do well on the Easter date, which had the 23 connection. But on the date numerology, the sweep did well. If there's any team going for a sweep today, that would be something to keep in mind. And I think the Yankees are. One, two, three. So the Yankees could sweep the Angels today. Sweep 23. 23, the 9th prime. Okay, so there's something. That would make the Yankees 7-3 away. Los Angeles 37, assuming those standings are correct. So you're going to... Sure, ESPN's keeping up here. Let's make sure. Yeah, they could become 7-3 away, the reflection of 37. Yankees is also 37, so you have an overlap with Los Angeles and Yankees, 37, 73, the reflection. New York, 78. Angels would be 7-8 at home. Seattle playing at home, their new stadium name equals 67. 67 is the 19th prime. Seattle's 19. It's 2019. So Seattle's also 28. I think Rangers is 28 and 37, but the overlap would be with oh no, Rangers is 107, the 28th prime. Caller?
What's up, Zach? Is there any connection with the Pablo Ramirez skateboarding death and any sports events today? I know that happened in San Francisco.
I didn't even know about it. I'd have to look.
Yep, he died 2 days ago in a truck accident. He was skateboarding in traffic. You can check it out. It was in go to. That might tie into the 8/11 thing, but just checking.
Okay.
All right, Zach, thanks, man.
Pablo Ramirez. Thank you. I'll check it out.
All right, bro.
Bye. Okay, so again, the Mariners' new stadium, T-Mobile Arena, 67. Again, 67, the 19th prime. That's been the big number with Seattle this year, so I can make more sense out. Seattle and Rangers are also both 107, the 28th prime. So I'm just going to say I'd be surprised if the Mariners lost that game there. I'd be surprised if they dropped that one. It's their 28th game of the season as well. So again, picking baseball right now is dangerous, but I would say there's a good riddle for the Mariners. There's a good riddle for the Yankees. Cleveland Indians, 67. Those are the kind of riddles we got burned on, but it's there. 41 date numerology, the 13th prime, staying at 13. I'd do more on the Red Sox Tigers, but Boston, Massachusetts is 55. I do think the Phillies are going to win today. If the Phillies win today, you have to remember this. This could be our National League World Series team. 94 and 147 are riddles I talk about almost every year with the World Series. 115th day of the year. Philadelphia. Is it Philadelphia or Phillies? It's one of them. Maybe it's both. Philadelphia, 115. That date numerology is there for the Dodgers. So you can start to watch these things just to see if they come through. 68 date, 23 date, 8 and 3 is like 83, the 23rd prime. This game's already underway. I don't see anything there. I've seen a lot of teams having records where the next day, the record they come in with is like the day they play each other tomorrow. No, so it wouldn't even matter because they're not at home. So I don't know about that. So, okay, those are some quick thoughts for baseball. I'm waiting and seeing to see if the riddles come through. Mariners have the riddle. Yankees have the riddle to sweep. 6 and 7 kind of makes sense. I'm not crazy about it just based on how many things have been broken because Cleveland Indians is 67. Red Sox 5 and 5 would make the most sense. Philly, I'll be surprised if the Phillies lose. I'll say that. If the Cubs win, it's a date numerology. I just want to see that some things are getting back on course. So I do like that the Mariners and Phillies are both playing today. I'm going to go back and look more at that Seattle train wreck because I remember that had something to do with Philadelphia. I think it was right before the Seahawks and Eagles played too in the regular season, something like that. I got to go back and look at it. There was some riddle with Seattle and Philadelphia with the Seattle train wreck. All right, you guys, playoff game today, Spurs. If you're doing NHL, maybe take the underdogs to cover, but we're going to have better games. It's a tight read in the NHL today. So I got to wrap it up because I have to go sign in to some thing with Pasadena Media. So be back tomorrow at the regular time, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Not going to be able to get that review video up. I'll make a note about what I think for today. All right, you guys, wrapping it up now. Good luck. I'll see you tomorrow.